Drone use is increasing rapidly. FAA is really working hard to keep pace with all the changes in the industry.
Welcome to the Watchdog Report, your source for news and information from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. I'm Matt Oldham. 1.1 million Americans flew drones in 2017, and the FAA expects that number to more than double over the next 5 years. It's growth that could come with some growing pains, because experts will need to maintain safety when anyone can fly one of these drones weighing just a few pounds in the same skies as more established, larger aircraft. I'm here at Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport with Heather Kraus. She's a director on our physical infrastructure team, and she led a GAO report on drone safety. Heather, what kind of trouble would I get in if I turned this on and flew it here?
You cannot fly drones around the national airport. In fact, there is a 15-mile radius restriction on around flying drones. What you're holding there is what is seen to be a recreational drone. They tend to be under 55 pounds, and really you're not allowed to fly them in a way that would interfere with any manned aircraft.
Okay, I'm gonna put this down so that I'm not a safety risk. But speaking of, what are some of the safety risks when it comes to drones?
What makes drones unique is kind of a couple unique safety risks. First of all, you have sort of the pilot and the aircraft disconnected because you have a pilot working off of a remote and the aircraft other places. So it can be hard for a pilot of a drone to see when it's getting close to a manned aircraft and might collide with it. Additionally, because of that sort of disconnection between the remote and the aircraft itself, you can also run the risks of communication links breaking and an operator losing control of the drone.
So I'm sure some of these concerns are something that the FAA has to deal with commercial aircraft, like the activity we see behind you right now. What role does the FAA play in maintaining drone safety?
FAA really is responsible for the safety of the entire national airspace system, whether, as you pointed out, the aircraft here or drones or any other aircraft in the system. How they're approaching that is they are developing safety standards and regulations to really oversee the use of drones and sort of safely integrating them and their operation into the national airspace system with other types of aircraft.
So what sort of plan does the FAA have for the future of drone safety?
So they have a number of efforts underway in terms of figuring out how best to integrate drones into the national airspace system. In addition to some of the regulations, I mean, they continue to take an incremental approach there of finding, looking at how can you operate drones safely beyond a line of sight in terms of the pilot not being able to see the aircraft and still safely operate it. They're also evaluating a number of technologies, whether it's detecting drones at airports and around airports, and also improving the data that they collect on drones to help inform all of their plans and regulations and standards.
How do they collect that data? I mean, do they rely on people to report safety issues to the FAA?
Currently, what they do, as you say, collect data from reported sightings of potentially unsafe use of drones. Much of that data is coming from pilots and air traffic control facilities. However, as we talk about in our report, much of that data, sort of the accuracy and the completeness is variable. And that comes from the fact that drones they can be difficult to definitively identify, and they also typically aren't picked up on radar.
So it sounds like the FAA is in the data collecting mode right now when it comes to these drones, and it sounds like there's some crowdsourced information they're relying on. Is the FAA going in the right direction?
You know, again, what we have found is that they are taking a very incremental approach to doing this. Our report really identified ways that they could enhance some of the steps that they're taking in terms of developing their standards and regulations, opportunities really to improve how they approach their controls and sort of oversight of potential safety risks.
So Heather, what did your team recommend?
We found that FAA is taking a number of steps to really manage the safety risks of the system, but we did find opportunities for them to improve how they oversee and manage potential safety risks.
So Heather, what's the bottom line of the report?
Drone use is increasing rapidly. FAA is really working hard to keep pace with all the changes in the industry. there's a number of efforts underway which we highlight in our report and really identified some opportunities to strengthen some of those efforts.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for being here, Heather.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us. For more information on this report and others, visit us at gao.gov.